Ladies and gentlemen, March is finally here. After one of the weirdest college basketball seasons ever, we have finally made it to the conference tournament stage, where over 350 teams will battle it out for 68 spots in the NCAA tournament. In this video, I'll walk you through the 10 biggest conference tournaments from the Big Ten all the way down to the Missouri Valley. This can be your one-stop shop for everything and anything involving these conference tournaments, and we'll look at key players, key stats, sleeper teams, and finally my predictions, which might get a little weird. Keep in mind the Missouri Valley and Atlantic 10 predictions were made before the tournaments took place, as now they are close to finishing up or have finished up. And the by the numbers and sleeper team sections were made with help from HeatCheckCBB.com's conference tournament previews, which I highly encourage you guys to check them out. A lot of information there, especially now that we're getting close to March Madness. So let's get into it. First off, we have the Missouri Valley taking place from March 4th to 7th in St. Louis. Some key players on this tournament will be Cameron Krutwig from Loyola Chicago. You remember him from their Final Four run. A 6'9", 255 senior averaging 15 points a game, which is 5th in the conference, and a 58.6 shot percent, 4th in the conference, along with Missouri State's Isaiah Mosley, a quick guard, and a do-it-all scoring forward in Bradley's Elijah Childs. A key stat here is key number is 10. Loyola Chicago ranks in the top 10 nationally in both defensive efficiency and offensive two-point percentage. Of the 15 other teams that have done that since 2002, 10 of them have made it to at least the Elite Eight. Something to keep in mind when filling out your bracket. And the sleeper team I have for this conference is number 3, Missouri State. The Bears boast one of the best duos in the country, in my opinion, in Isaiah Mosley and Gage Prim. If those two can click in their Arch Madness matchups, Missouri State could be a scary sight and a potential bid stealer. My prediction is this tournament is always chaos, and I don't expect it to be any different. First round, Bradley over Southern Illinois, Northern Iowa over Illinois State. Quarterfinals, how about the 8 seed Bradley knocking off Loyola Chicago? I think they can do it, especially if Childs plays well. Evansville over Indiana State, Drake over Northern Iowa, and Missouri State over Valparaiso. In the semifinals, I have the 8 seed Bradley continuing its run, knocking off Evansville, and Missouri State knocking off a reeling Drake. And in my Missouri Valley Championship, I have the 3 seed Missouri State beating the 8 seed Bradley. Moving on now to the Mountain West Conference, which is going to take place from March 10th to 13th in Las Vegas. The last winner was Utah State, who actually won it the year prior, so they've won it 2 years in a row. If you'll remember last year, Sam Merrill, step back 3, beat the 30-1 at the time San Diego State Aztec team. Some key players to watch for: one of the best rim protectors in America, Utah State's Neemias Queta. I really hope this guy makes the tournament. 14.7 points a game, 9.9 rebounds, 3 blocks a game, which is 5th in the country, and a 56.4 field goal percent. You also have Colorado State's David Roddy, 6'5", 252 sophomore, and San Diego State's star player Jordan Shackle, along with Matt Mitchell. By the numbers, .682, despite home court advantage being limited for most teams this year, doesn't seem to apply to teams in the Mountain West. The conference is the highest home winning percentage in the country at .682, but since this tournament is at a neutral site, the teams are relying more on their home record, maybe at more of a disadvantage. For my sleeper team, I have number 5, Nevada. This Nevada team could be getting hot at the right time. The Wolfpack are coming in off of a win over Colorado State and have also swept Boise State. While they have a tough draw, guys like Grant Sherfield and Desmond Cambridge could carry this team to a surprise run. And here are my predictions in the first round: Wyoming over San Jose State, Air Force over UNLV, and Fresno State over New Mexico. In the quarterfinals, how about another 8-1 upset? I know it seems far-fetched, but I like the talent on this Wyoming team, and I believe they can knock off San Diego State. Then 4 seed Boise State knocking off Nevada, Utah State knocking off Air Force, and Colorado State knocking off Fresno State. Those are my quarterfinal predictions. Then in the semifinals, Wyoming beats San Diego State. How about they do it to a talented Boise State team as well? I have Wyoming moving on to the finals, 8 seed Wyoming, remember that. Along with the 2 seed Utah State knocking off 3 seed Colorado State, which brings me to my championship. Pokes fans, you had a good run, but I'll take the 2 seed Utah State in winning the Mountain West. Next up, the Atlantic 10. The Atlantic 10's tournament is going to take place from March 3rd to 14th this year in Richmond and Dayton. There have been 3 different winners in the last 3 years, with Rhode Island, Davidson, and St. Louis all winning respectively. 3 stars in this conference. First off, VCU's Bones Highland. If this man gets to the tournament, he will be a household name. great scorer, 6'3", 165 sophomore, leads the A-10 in scoring with 19.2 points a game, along with 2 steals. Then you got a unique player in St. Louis's Jordan Goodwin, 6'3", 200, but averages a double-double, leading the Atlantic 10 at 6'3" in rebounds a game. He has 10.3. And finally, if you're looking at the conference's top team, St. Bonaventure, they're led by junior Jaron Holmes, who averages 13.7 points per game. By the numbers 229, other than VCU, none of the top 4 seeds in the A-10 rank above 229th nationally in tempo. Additionally, the 5 and 6 seeds, UMass and George Mason, have tempos ranking 27th and 95th in the country. And controlling the tempo will be key in these late tourney matchups. And for the sleeper team, we have the 7 seed Dayton. Really, with how crazy the conference has been this year, you could really pick any Atlantic 10 team, but the best chance to make a surprise run will be Dayton due to their experience and shooting. My predictions, some key, I really have it going chalk through the first and second rounds, and the quarterfinals as well, except for, stop me if you heard this one before, another 8-1 upset. Richmond is vastly underseeded in my opinion, and I think they can knock off the 1 seed St. Bonaventure, and then knock off 4 seed St. Louis as well in the semifinals, but I also have VCU knocking off Davidson in the semifinals too, leaving the championship to be a Richmond battle. 8 seed Richmond versus 2 seed VCU, and the Spiders get it done. Bid stealing Richmond wins the A-10. Next up, we head over to the American, who's having their tournament from March 11th to the 14th in Fort Worth, Texas. SMU won in 2017 before Cincinnati went back-to-back in 2018 and 2019. Some stars in this conference, you got Houston's Quentin Grimes, a 6'5", 205 junior, who's second in the American with 17.9 points a game. Who is he behind, however? East Carolina's Jaden Gardner, a 6'7", 235 junior, leading the American in points with 18.1, also second in rebounds in the conference with 8.5. Finally, Tulsa's Brandon Rachal, I'm definitely butchered that name, 6'6", 220 senior, averaging 14.7 points and 1.6 steals. By the numbers, 10. Due to a couple rough losses, Houston has really gone under the radar this year as a potential championship contender. Yes, I said it. Championship contender. The Cougars are one of only 4 teams in the country that rank in the top 10 nationally in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. This is a talented roster that, with the right draw, could go a long way in the tournament. A sleeper team in this conference is number 7 Tulsa. Tulsa was a mid-major on a lot of people's radars earlier this season before a few losses took them out of the spotlight. However, the Golden Hurricanes still have a good team with a stingy defense and have also taken down the Americans' 2 and 3 seeds in Houston and Memphis. My prediction, the semifinals, I do have it going all chalk. No, I do not have the 8 seed or 9 seed taking down the 1 seed in the quarterfinals, although you will see more of that happening later. Just a little preview, things might get a little crazy. But the semifinals I do have all chalk, 1 through 4 seeds, 1 seed Wichita State, 2 seed Houston, 3 seed Memphis, 4 seed SMU, but I do have the SMU Mustangs taking down Wichita State in the semifinals, along with Houston taking down Memphis for an American Championship on Selection Sunday of 2 seed Houston versus 4 seed SMU, where I believe SMU's talent can get it done and knock off the Cougars. I know they're going to be playing energetically. They're going to be ready to knock off some giants in Houston, and I believe that is what will happen. Moving on to our first Power 5 conference in the SEC, taking place from March 10th to 14th in Nashville. Kentucky went back-to-back in 2017 and 2018 before the most recent winner, Auburn, took it in 2019. 3 stars this year in the SEC. First off, we got Devontae Shuler from Ole Miss, a very underrated player in the country, with Ole Miss hanging on the bubble right now. One might not even see him in the NCAA tournament. He's a 6'2", 185 senior, averaging 15.6 points per game. Next up, we have one of the best freshmen in the country, LSU's Cameron Thomas. This man has been lighting it up on the scoreboards, averaging 23.1 points per game, 4th in the nation. Finally, Mississippi State's Iverson Molinar, a 6'3", 190 sophomore, currently averaging 16.4 points per game. By the numbers, key number here, 45. This year, the SEC is all about defense. The conference has 7 teams who rank top 45 nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency, led by Alabama at number 3 and Tennessee at number 5. Basically, expect some defensive struggles in the final matches of the SEC tournament. And the sleeper team here, number 8 Kentucky. Come on, you knew this is going to be the sleeper. Despite their 9-15 record from a pure talent standpoint, the Wildcats are the best in the SEC. Throw in the fact that they've won 4 of their last 6, and you have the recipe for a team that could make a run in this tournament. My prediction, I have it going all chalk for the first 2 rounds, and then in the quarterfinals, Tennessee and Arkansas winning as the higher seed, but then Kentucky taking down 1 seed Alabama, and 6 seed Ole Miss taking down 3 seed LSU. Then in the semifinals, I have Tennessee beating Kentucky, and Ole Miss beating Arkansas, for a championship of 4 seed Tennessee versus 6 seed Ole Miss. Even though the Volunteers have some offensive woes, I believe they'll be playing for the crowd down in Nashville, and they will take the SEC title. Moving on to the Pac-12, a tournament that's going on March 10th through 13th in Vegas. Arizona went back-to-back in 2017 and 2018 before Oregon took it in 2019. 3 stars. First star, I gotta mention Evan Mobley. 7', 210 freshman. Probably a top 3 to 5 pick in this year's NBA draft. Averages 16.1 points, 8.6 rebounds a game, first in the Pac-12, 2.9 blocks a game, 8th in the entire country, and shooting 58.2% from the floor. He's a stat sheet stuffer. Next up, Arizona State's Remy Martin, 6', 175 senior. I know Arizona State has been a little underwhelming this year, but this man is still talented along with him and Josh Christopher. He's averaging 19.9 points a game, leading the Pac-12. And finally, from Arizona, the Georgetown transfer, James Akinjo, 6'1", 185 junior, averaging 15.6 points and 5.4 assists. Key number in this conference, 2. If you like prior eras of basketball, the Pac-12 is the conference to watch. Only 2 teams rank in the top 100 nationally in tempo, and neither of those 2 is expected to make it past the quarterfinals. Expect some slower games in this Pac-12 tourney. Sleeper team number 5, Oregon State. The Beavers are one of the weirdest teams in the country this year. They hold wins over tournament teams, Oregon and USC, but also hold losses to mid-major bottom dwellers, Wyoming and Portland. If they're on one of their hot streaks, though, a tourney run may be in the cards. And some of my key predictions: first round all chalk, quarterfinals all chalk, except, stop me if you heard this one before, an 8-1. I like Arizona State's talent. Oregon is too inconsistent for me to have them going that far. I do have Arizona State and Bobby Hurley knocking off Oregon. But then in the semifinals, the Sun Devils' run ends there. I have UCLA over Arizona State and Colorado over USC. For a Pac-12 championship of Colorado versus UCLA, Sco Buffs, Colorado takes that one. Moving on to the Big 12, the conference that's going to be going on from March 10th through 13th in Kansas City. The last 3 winners were Iowa State, Kansas, and then Iowa State again. Some 3 stars in this Big 12. First off, how could you not mention this name in the Big 12? The diaper dandy himself, Oklahoma State's Cade Cunningham, 6'8", 220 freshman guard. Maybe the number 1 pick in the draft. I do know he's leading the Big 12 in scoring with 19.7. Next up, you have West Virginia's Derek Culver, 6'10", 255 junior, averaging 14.8 points and 9.8 rebounds, almost a double-double. Those 9.8 rebounds are leading the Big 12. Finally, Oklahoma's Austin Reeves, a certified bucket getter, 6'5", 206 senior, 17.5 points a game, second in the Big 12, along with 4.9 assists a game, third in the Big 12. By the numbers, 14. In the past 14 years, only 2 current Big 12 teams have won the Big 12 tournament. Kansas has won it 8 times, and Iowa State's won it 4 times. The other 2 belong to Missouri, which, of course, they're in the SEC now. Will someone else break the streak this season? I could see it. Sleeper team 5, number 5, Oklahoma State. This team is 17th in the country right now, so having them as a 5 seed in the Big 12 tournament makes them crazy underrated. They have the best player in the conference in Cade Cunningham and a good supporting cast surrounding him. Guys like Isaac Likelily, definitely pronounced that one wrong, and Bryce Williams. Additionally, the Cowboys have won 6 of their last 7, with the 1 loss coming to Baylor in a game where they hung with the Bears for most of the contest. My predictions, I do have it going mostly chalk in the first round and quarterfinals before Baylor and Kansas meet up again in the Big 12 championship. But I do believe that Kansas beat them once, they can do it again. Kansas, Big 12 champions. Moving into the one you've probably been waiting for, the Big 10, March 10th through 14th, taking place in Indianapolis. The last three winners were Michigan repeating in 2017 and 2018 before Michigan State took it in 2019. 3 stars. Luka Garza, Iowa. We've been talking about this guy since last year. 6'11", 265 senior, third in the country in points per game with 23.8. Very nifty inside game. And just a scorer. If you need a bucket, give it to Garza. He'll probably get you one. 8.7 rebounds and 1.6 blocks per game as well. So he can do it on both ends of the floor. We also have, speaking of big men, Kofi Coburn out of Illinois, 7 foot 285 sophomore, 5th in the Big Ten in points per game with 17.3, but also leading the Big Ten in rebounds with 9.6 per game, and field goal percent, shooting 66% from the floor. Also, Illinois' Ayo Dosunmu, can't mention Coburn without Dosunmu, Illinois' dynamic duo, 20.9 points per game for him and 5.2 assists. By the numbers, 100. You want another stat for how good the Big Ten is this year? Well, in adjusted defensive efficiency, no Big Ten team ranks outside the top 100, and only 2 rank outside the top 50. In this conference, both sides of the ball are covered. The sleeper team in this Big Ten is number 4 Purdue. Despite being a 4 seed, I still consider Purdue as one of the most, if not the most, underrated team in the country. They have talent all throughout the lineup, from freshman phenom Jaden Ivey to pretty much Caleb Swanigan's clone in Trevion Williams. If they play to their fullest potential, Purdue can hang with anyone in this conference. My predictions, first round, second round, mostly chalk except for Indiana over Rutgers and Penn State over Wisconsin. In the quarterfinals, I have Maryland taking down a reeling Michigan team, along with Ohio State, Illinois, and Iowa winning their matchups. In the semifinals, I have Ohio State beating Maryland and Illinois beating Iowa, but in the championship, a hot Fighting Illini team takes down the Buckeyes. Finally, last tournament here, the ACC, taking place from March 9th to the 13th in Greensboro. The last 3 winners were Duke, Virginia, and then Duke again in 2019. 3 stars in this conference, Virginia Tech's Kivi Oluma, another really underrated player, 6'9", 235 junior, averaging 16 and 8 per game. Duke's Matthew Hurt has really improved this year, leading the ACC in scoring with 18.7. Glad he stuck around for his sophomore year. Finally, Michigan Marquette transfer, Sam Hauser from Virginia, a 6'8", 218 senior, currently averaging 15.8 points per game. By the numbers, 4, that's a key number for this tournament. This is a rare ACC tournament where every game over the first 3 days will impact the bubble. Only 4 ACC teams would be considered locks for the big dance right now: Florida State, Virginia, Clemson, and Virginia Tech, with 5 more clinging for dear life. If you're a fan of a team on the bubble, the ACC's first 3 days of matchups are must-see TV. And a sleeper team in this conference, number 4, Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets are red hot right now. They have a 6-game winning streak, and they have talent on the roster too, with the ACC Player of the Year in Moses Wright. Georgia Tech could shock some people and possibly win this ACC tournament. But in my predictions, however, I do not have Georgia Tech making it that far. I do have a all chalk up until the semifinals, or mostly chalk, however. I have Duke beating Louisville and NC State taking down Syracuse. But in the semifinals, I have Virginia and Virginia Tech advancing over Georgia Tech and Florida State, respectively. Where in the championship, Battle of Virginia, I have the Virginia Tech Hokies taking down the Virginia Cavaliers. That'll do it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think about the predictions and your conference winners below, and have a good day.
For more creative, informative, and high-quality sports content, make sure to follow Phenom on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as all of the Phenom podcast channels for each sport. The link tree in the episode description includes a direct link to all of the aforementioned platforms, so click on that to access everything. Phenom boasts a team of over 100 youth contributors from around the world, covering every sport on every media platform. If you are interested in potentially joining the Phenom team as a writer or content creator, send an email to cole@phenommedia.net showing your interest. If you enjoyed the video, Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so we can grow the channel. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.